Today we're going to be exploring some of the most broken balance issues from Dead by Daylight, and I can almost guarantee you there'll be at least one thing in here that you haven't seen or heard of, so let me know if you learn anything new or if you're a DBD god. If you aren't familiar with these kinds of videos, essentially you start at the top of the iceberg with well-known stuff and you work your way down to get to less known stuff. This specific iceberg was made by Stumpy Stoner Simp, his link will be in my description, and if you made it this far, I worked really hard on this video. It's seriously a different type of style of content than I normally do, so any support means so much and it shows me that you like this type of content. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Jesse,
we have to cook.
Dash Dead Hard. Ah, the good old days.
it takes me back to the good old days.
I loved Dash Dead Hard. Not only was the moment of invulnerability, but it did give you a little bit of a dash for distance that you could use to get over gaps, or you could use it just to make distance. I thought it was hilarious. I would run it almost all the time, and I would even Dead Hard at the killers. It was just funny watching them swing in the air. Obviously, with everyone running Dead Hard, it needed a nerf, so it makes sense why they did what they did with it, but still, can reminisce about the old times, and yeah. 7 blink nurse.
I'll be back.
When nurse first came out, she not only had 2 blinks, she had 3 blinks. And with certain add-ons, you could increase that to an utterly horrifying 7. Nurse with 2 blinks is scary alone, but bro, with 7, I am so grateful I was not around for this. Colubrine and Eruption. You used to see both of these perks ran all the time because they just worked that well together. Eruption made it so whenever a gen was kicked, it would glow, and then whenever a survivor would go down on the ground, it would explode, causing it to regress and lose progress. And Colubrine made it so whenever a gen was regressing, it regressed by 150% to 200% of the normal rate originally. But both of these perks saw nerfs, and not only that, but the way gen regression work got changed as well, making it so any gen in the game can only regress 8 times per game. As you can see, having 2 separate perks each time they activate, counting as one of 8, both of these perks kind of lost their relevancy being ran together, and people tend to run different regression perks now because of the 8 cap. No token pain res. Scourge pain res is one of the best gen regression perks in the game, with it making the most progress gen lose up to 25% of its progress whenever a survivor is hooked on the Scourge hook. Luckily, it can only be activated 4 times, but before the 6.7.0 update, it had unlimited uses and only made the gens lose 15% compared to the buffed 25%. So there's a bit of a trade-off. While not having unlimited uses, it did more percent per use of the perk. And with how the gen regression thing works now, it could only use 8 times anyways instead of infinite. Make for this is one of the best looping perks survivors have, with it giving you the unbreakable stats effect after healing another survivor, letting you take a hit even if you're injured. Not only that, but it made you 3% faster while injured and running. It has since been nerfed, however, though, obviously, being how broken a permanent 3% haste status effect is. So what did Behavior do? They threw that shit behind a deep wound payment wall, EA style. This essentially made it so you had to use both sides of the perk, which in my opinion makes so much more sense, because the endurance you got from healing a survivor was nice, but most people wouldn't even use it for that purpose. So now you either have to heal a survivor, get the endurance and get hit, or you just have to be hit while, I don't know, getting unhooked or dead harding. Now I know what you're thinking. A lot of people think NOED is unbalanced, and that's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it because if you didn't know, way back from version 1.0 to 2.3.0, NOED gave a 5% haste and an 8% cooldown to missed attacks, which is already really good. But not only that, it got activated the moment survivors opened the gate. And I know what you're thinking. So just simply don't open the gate. Wrong. It was bugged the whole time and activated the microsecond you started opening the gate. So even if you tried to 99 it, there was truly no escape. This previously stronger NOED mixed with the fact that survivors were now more immersed than a 5-year-old on their mom's iPhone watching Skibbity Toilet made it so they never knew how to get rid of it. Well, that's to say if there even was a totem. I bet you didn't even know that NOED originally didn't even have a totem because you're dumb and you need to take that bread off your face like the idiot sandwich you are, and you need to listen up. From Dead by Daylight's release in June 14th, 2016 to April 27th, 2017, NOED wasn't even a hex perk, so it couldn't even be countered. Not only that, but it started the moment you open the exit gate. All these factors combined made NOED fucking crazily busted back then. People hate on it now, despite the fact that it's been nerfed. They would not have liked to see what it used to be.
Swag Messiah. Bees make honey.
This This one's a little less known, it being Blight's addons. This is in reference to the PTB Blight addon rework that gave him an infinite amount of rush tokens and increased his turn rate with one of the addons immensely. Silent Iron Will. Up until October 16th of 2017, Iron Will made you completely silent when injured, meaning no amount of sweat and damage to the eardrum from how loud your headsets are will let you hear the survivor grunting. After this, however, it was reduced to 75% noise reduction, and then once again was later nerfed to make it so it wasn't active when exhausted. Ruining and Dying is a perk combo that's been ran for quite a while, and even I use it sometimes. But at its peak, this was seriously an annoying combo to go up against. On release, Undying worked quite a bit differently than it does, as when it first came out, it would show any survivor for up to 6 seconds when near any totem, not just the dull ones. That mixed with the fact that whenever you ran it, it would have to have any other totem broken twice, made Undying crazy good. This mixed with Ruin being a totem that essentially makes you never need to hit a gen, you could see how this was quite a lethal perk combo. From version 4.2.0 to version 4.5.0, Undying would show even lit totems being worked on, so the killer would essentially never lose it if they just paid close enough attention. And once again, even if they did, you would have to find Ruin again. It's only okay when I use it, okay? I hate going against this perk combo. Garden of Joy is often seen as a massively survivor-sided map, with its smaller size and crazy amount of connecting loops and windows, making it a very easy 3 to 4 man escape almost every round. Its main building is insanely powerful with almost endless potential loops, very easily infinitable windows, several pallets, I mean, like, you name it, this building has it all. Garden of Joy made such an outcry that it was ultimately reworked, but some people even still consider it super survivor-sided. What do you think? Is it still super survivor-sided, or is it one of the other maps on this list? Tombstone Myers. This is generally referring to anyone who's running Judith's Tombstone, which allows Michael to moor anyone instantly once he's in tier 3. It does however come with the drawback of making it even harder to get to tier 3. People often pair this with Hair Tough, making it even harder to get to tier 3, but it makes it so he never can fall out of it. Tombstone lets you moor anyone with having any hooks, which is really broken, and the only way to tell if he has Tombstone before he kills you outright is to look at his hands, because whenever Michael's going slower, his hand model's different, and Tombstone makes him go slower. There's one thing, however, you can do, and that's to jump in a locker before he gets close. This will force him to pull you out instead of mooring you, but there's a chance that he'll just wait you out and just stand at the locker. And if he just stands at the locker, this could take up to an hour, so you honestly don't even know, which is why a lot of people consider it pretty broken. If you find yourself in a position where he's just standing at the locker, the best thing you can do is either give up or grab some popcorn and buckle in, because most Michaels will not go out easily. Condemn Sadako. This refers to a type of playstyle with Sadako where you basically avoid hooking any survivors and try to get everyone to max condemn, allowing you to moor them. Kind of like Myers' Tombstone in a way. Everyone knows that getting moored with 0 hooks always feels bad. This makes it a very disliked build and why a lot of people consider it very OP. They also run add-ons such as ring drawing as well, so whenever you heal a survivor who has any condemned, it gives you some condemn as well. Sadako got a nerf a bit to try to counter this though, but at her prime, it was 3 to 4 man mories fast with very skilled Sadakos, and even if you weren't skilled, you could get 1 to 2 mories easily. 3-Gen Merchant refers to another playstyle played by Skull Merchants, where essentially, when she was at her prime, they would just camp the 3 gens and lock them with her drones so no one could get the gens done, and then she would just survey them with perks that were geared to stop them from doing the gens. The games would get locked until essentially the servers would close, which is about around the hour mark. It was such a problem that people were streaming doing it. There was a couple of videos of people who would just hold games hostages. Basically all of this just so behavior would nerf it.
I put my armor on, show you how strong I am. I put my armor on, I show you that I am.
40% Mother-Daughter Ring. Mother-Daughter Ring is an add-on for Spirit that allows her to walk quicker when she's phasing. The only downside is that you can't see survivor scratch marks, but you walk 40% quicker. A 40% speed increase makes her absolutely mob while phasing. She's already really quick when she's phase walking, but with this, she's fucking crazy. This all got changed in 7.1.0, so now it's only a 25% movement increase. Brand new parts are very frustrating as a killer to deal with, as there's almost no way to counter survivors using them, and with the 4-stack running them, you can expect gens to fly. But what you may not know is the way they worked at launch, and I don't blame you. They changed it all the way back in the 27th of April of 2017. At launch, they reduced the charge of the toolbox by 50%, but they instantly did the gen on activation. You heard that correct. If a 4-stack brought 4 of these, you are cooked. 4 gens, they're popping in 30 seconds, alright? You're just gonna sit there crying, looking like a fucking 4-year-old child, struggling to even get your first hook before that last gen pops. Brand new parts were truly fucking horrific at its peak. Engineer's Fang is an add-on for Pinhead that allows his change to injure you on contact instead of just chaining you, which is insanely good considering Master Pinheads can almost always chain you. This makes for easy kills for Pinhead if they know what they're doing. It should not be taken lightly. There's pretty much no counter you can do than to just try to fucking dodge these chains as they're flying for your fucking cheeks. Yeah, it's not really that fun to come against, but it's not the most broken thing ever. For the People, rule allows you to immediately pick up a survivor from the injured state. If you are A, fully healed, and B, have no item in your offhand. This allows for instant heals the moment a killer downs a survivor. This wouldn't be that strong since a killer can just read down the survivor, but that's where Buckle Up comes in, giving both the survivors endurance after healing a downed survivor, allowing free pickups and full stacks to abuse this perk combo. Even to this day, it allows killers to get hella pissed because survivors can just pick them up, even if the killers are running Lightborn and full crutch perks. During the recording of this, Buckle Up actually just got reworked, so this doesn't even work anymore. Instant ability refers to a playstyle that was achieved with add-ons that made his charge for his chainsaw almost immediate, hence the name, making it nearly impossible to face him because he got max charge in a matter of seconds. Luckily, these add-ons were changed after not so long, and instant ability is no longer in the mix, but when he was around, it was a challenge to get away from him. You could not hug any loops tightly even to get away, because he just charged so quickly. He can't hurt you no more though, trust. Or can he? PTB EMP. During the PTB, Singularity was heavily countered by his EMPs, which are designed to give counterplay to his biopods, but during the PTB, there were so many of them, and they were just so spread around the map, you could never play him. No one would want to play him. It made the fanbase not like him, and they had a really bad taste from the chapter from the get-go. So whenever it finally came out, they had to lower the rates and spread them out more. This add-on makes Clown able to one-shot you if he directly hits you with any of his bottles. And on launch, they didn't change the amount of balls he could carry with the add-on, so he just had so many one-shot bottles. This add-on worked from the 18th of September 2018 to the 25th of January 2022 where they nerfed it. Imagine this, plus an extra bottle add-on, you would have bottles for days. And it would be hell going against the Clown with this. Even after it was nerfed, they had to nerf it twice more just to bring it down the amount of bottles you could bring each time, until they finally settled to capping it at just one bottle with the add-on. AFK Spirit was a strategy Spirit mains would use back in the day where they would stand still to trick the survivors into thinking they were phasing. Many survivors would go towards the Spirit to try to trick them, but little do they know the Spirit's just like watching them, so they either get the free hit or they start running away and then the Spirit can start phasing. So overall, it was an amazing tech for Spirits. They did, however, change her, so now she makes a noise whenever she's phasing, so it doesn't really work as it used to. It does, however, still work on default Sables and Megs with that one mask. Quickscope Deathslinger. Deathslinger's aim down sight used to be super quick, and you used to be able to shoot almost immediately when aiming down sight, meaning you had an instant quickscope. But now, you have to wait for the animation to pull up, which they also slow down. AFK Pig refers to a strategy which allowed the killers to win by standing completely still. This worked because of the way her power used to work. When she used to run the add-ons videotape, it would make survivors start the trial with the reverse bear trap on, and then she would also rock it with rule set number 2, making survivors not see the boxes till their head trap has started going off. Then, the pig would camp right in front of the box, making it so the survivor couldn't get the trap off her head, and she would crouch so the timer would go down, giving her a roughly 1 in 16 chance that all 4 survivors needed to get that box to get off. This was nerfed in patch 6.0.0, making it so that there was more boxes and lowering the odds that she could just camp one of them. So in other words, it just made her playstyle no longer valid. When Circle of Healing first released, it allowed for a 100% bonus to healing speeds across the board, even with medkits. It also allowed self-healing at a reduced 50% speed, making it super good with almost instant heals at launch if you had a medkit. This plus the fact that every survivor and their mom ran it because it was the new perk at the time. I mean, hell, there was no boons before it. Made it so every killer had to deal with 3 to 4 mans all running boons, and it was just overall a total nightmare. So they nerfed that shit so you can't even self-heal with it anymore, and it doesn't even increase medkit rates. No hook Mori. When the Mori came out, it worked relatively the same, except you didn't need any hooks. You didn't even need to hook a survivor a single time before being able to kill them. Moris were very strong from launch till patch 1.5.3, which was 27th of April 2017. We're pretty lucky that we don't have to deal with getting fucking full killed without even one hook. But for the first couple years of this game, you had to deal with getting killed without even a single hook. Then it got changed to needing one hook. And then after patch 4.4.0, which is all the way in 10th of November 2020, they finally made you need to get hooked twice before being moried. 300% Will Make It. When Will Make It came out, it worked a little bit differently than it works now, by giving you an additional 100% healing speed for every survivor you unhooked, capping at 300%. It was a stackable thing. This was so broken. If you had like 3 unhooks in the game, you would heal almost immediately, not to mention this worked with self-care as well. You could see how it was extremely broken, and it didn't get patched from June 14th all the way until June 29th of 2016. So I mean, it was so broken, it was only in the game for like 2 weeks, but still. Starstruck Nurse. Starstruck Nurse got so much value from this perk, because whenever you get Starstruck, the only thing you really can do is to run away, hide, or just like play around loops. And obviously Nurse could just teleport to you even if you tried running away, and you can't really play any loops around her because she could just teleport, meaning she was one of the best killers to rock this when it first came out. However, the devs saw how good this was, and they nerfed the Nurse, so whenever she teleports and hits it, it doesn't count as an M1, and you can only get one-shot kills with Starstruck if it's considered an M1 hit. So, Starstruck no longer worked with Nurse. I still get nightmares from it, to be honest. Like, Starstruck Nurse was just that good.
Hello friends, this is Vods. As I told you a few times, if you're she the rat, be relieved, relax.
No hook Decisive Strike. Like the name suggests, Decisive Strike on launch required almost nothing to use and could be activated the first time the killer picked you up, causing this perk to be absolutely abused. It was so broken that in patch 1.4.0, which was the 3rd of February 2017, they made it so you had to be the Obsession, but it still didn't require any hooks. They thought maybe you need to be the Obsession would make it less OP, but no. Once again, they had to nerf it because it was still broken, and they nerfed it in patch 2.6.0, which dropped on the 19th of March in 2019, requiring you to be hooked at least once. Moonwalk Legion. When afflicted with the deep wound stats effect, you need to mend or else you'll fall flat on the ground, unless you're in chase. When you're in chase, it'll cause the mend bar to freeze so you don't have to worry about it, but some Legion players knowing this will follow you while going backwards. This tricks the game into not counting it as a chase, so your mend bar will continue to go down, but they'll keep following you. So if you try to mend so you don't die, they'll just turn around and hit you. And if you just keep running from them, you'll end up falling flat anyways because they're not in chase and your mend bar is going down. So when you're playing up against a Moonwalk Legion, you're kind of fucked. You don't really see them anymore as you used to, but yeah, it's a really good play style. Forever Freddy. Forever Freddy is a build that mainly popped up after version 3.1.0 or the 19th of March 2019, which relies on bringing the game to a halt by railing the survivor with slowdowns. It mainly relies on 2 add-ons, Swing Chains, which applies a negative 3% action speed to repairing, healing, and sabotaging per survivor asleep, up to a maximum of negative 12%, and Jump Rope, which applies a negative 9% speed across the board as well. So that's a 21% slowdown right there, which is already terrifying, but it fucking gets worse, bro. These bully killers would pair Sloppy Butcher with Dying Light, Pop Goes the Weasel, and Thanatophobia, all 4 slowdown perks, which made this build an utter fucking nightmare to face. Get it? Nightmare like Freddy. There was literally no normal for survivors who were playing against this build. Oftentimes they would just like give up to get it over with quickly, because this game could literally last an hour with how slow it would go before they nerfed how everything works. Like, there was no beating this Freddy build. These add-ons were both changed, however, though, in 3.4.0 or the 3rd of December 2019, about 9 months later. So this build was only a thing for about 9 months, but the 9 months it was a thing for were miserable. Old Haddonfield. Old Haddonfield was a killer nightmare with so many buildings, infinite loops, some of the easiest connecting loops. It was overall a survivor's dream. 4-stack survivor bully squads clung to this map harder than I clung to the lever of the slots when I realized that 99% of gambling had quit right before. The map was horribly balanced, so it got changed, but I heard killer mains still get nightmares to this day from it. No protection hit Medal of Man. Medal of Man released in patch 2.6.3, April 2nd of 2019, and it was very busted. On release, it would activate by getting hit just 3 times by basic attacks, allowing you to take an extra hit next time you'd be put into the dying state. Not needing to take any protection hits made this perk way too easy to activate, and it was quickly adopted by body blocking and bully squads. It was changed in patch 3.0.0, June 18th of 2019, requiring you to take 3 protection hits. This was a pretty good nerf to the perk and made it so you need a little bit more skill to even activate it, and now it's no longer as broken as it used to be. Infinite loops. Throughout DBD's history, there has been several infinite loops that allowed skill survivors to run the killers indefinitely. Back then, there was no window block mechanic either, and it wasn't added until patch 1.1.2 or September 23rd, 2016, and there was no bloodlust until patch 1.5.0, April 27th of 2017. There's been several infinite loops that have used things like balanced landing and a couple other perks, and there's just been infinite loops that you didn't need any perks for. They've all been pretty easy, but after all these nerfs, a lot of the infinite loops have been gone, and you can't really use them anymore.
The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night.
No Vault Spirit. When Spirit was released, she had no vault animation, meaning whenever she vaulted, a survivor would just basically see her stand still at the window, and then the next second she just teleport to the other side, allowing for a large amount of mind games for Spirit players. Since survivors would have literally no idea if you were phasing or vaulting or just waiting, didn't really know how to counter. This was changed in patch 3.4.0, December 3rd, 2019, so she could actually vault, fixing the problem. 6 Hatchet Eerie Head. Huntress started with 7 hatchets, and with Eerie Head at launch, it only reduced her total hatchets by 2, allowing a survivor to bring another add-on for extra hatchets, allowing her to have a miserably high 6 Eerie hatchets per reload. However, patch 1.7.2, 14th of September 2017, made it reduce her hatchets by 4, but it wasn't fully nerfed until patch 4.7.0, which came out 4th of May 2021, which finally made her only be able to have 1 hatchet, and add-ons can't affect that. No stagger balanced landing. Balanced landing is often an exhaustion perk that's looked over, requiring you to fall a certain height to activate. It did have a massive bonus ability to it though, and that was at one point abused on certain maps to allow infinites, and it's that it reduced the stagger you experienced every time you fall, allowing you to start running again when after you fall by 100%. This allowed survivors to keep falling off heights, causing killers to stagger, but they could just rerun instantly after the fall, getting distance that the killer wouldn't have. This was nerfed in patch 3.4.0, the 3rd of December 2019, and it now only works when not exhausted. But before, you used to have infinite no stagger falls, and it was just crazy. Insta-heal. When DBD first released, the medkit add-ons worked a bit differently than they do now. The anti-hemorrhagic syringe worked on release by instantly healing you 1 stage. It was changed to heal you from healthy from any injured state, even if you were down, in patch 1.8.2, the 20th November of 2017. In patch 3.3.0, 8th of October 2019, it was changed though to heal only 1 state again, and it would take 16 seconds to do so. But I bet you didn't know there was actually a second insta-heal add-on as well during the time, called the Styptic Agent. Now whenever you use it, it allows you to take another hit, but back then, until version 3.3.0, it would heal 1 state. 1 instant heal item is crazy, but 2? Oh hell no, bro. Luckily they changed it after 2 years, but still, 2 years is quite a long time to have to deal with 2 insta-heal add-ons. Permanent Sabotage. At launch, hooks were able to be broken permanently and wouldn't respawn, meaning the killer would only have the basement hooks. This meant that killers had to run Iron Grasp and Agitation back then to even have a chance to get the survivors in basement. This was later changed, however, to allow hooks to spawn in May of 2017. But for a long time, if you just broke a hook, the killer was fucked. Like, there was no respawning, and even when they did add respawns, it still took like a minute or two before the hook would come back until they finally changed it. We're getting into some pretty broken balancing changes with this one. 80% self-care. At launch, self-care allowed you to heal yourself at 80% the speed, which I feel like I don't even need to explain how that's that broken, but it's really broken. You could mix it with the medkit, and you could also have other perks like a 300% will make it at the time, which allowed you to self-care even faster. It was so crazy. It got changed not too long after, though, in patch 1.0.2, which was the June 29th of 2016. They nerfed it down to a 50% heal, and then once again, it got nerfed in patch 1.7.0, the 14th of September of 2017, to a 20% heal. And then eventually, it actually got buffed in patch 6.1.0 to 35% healing speed. But wow, self-care used to be crazy broken.
Come. I mean, I knew you would come, but you've come.
I have come.
Bro, what did you just say?
I just said bust what on my face?
Nah, bro, that's still gay.
No,
You're gay. He's gay.
I'm not gay.
He's gay.
Old Object of Obsession. Old Object of Obsession worked so anytime you were looking at the killer's direction, you would see them, but they could also see you for up to 72 meters away. This gave control to the survivors when they wanted to see the killer, and when they wanted the killer to see them, and when they didn't. This caused bully squads with comms to always know exactly where the killer was, and oftentimes one survivor would run this and give calls to everyone else. This, however, was changed in patch 4.7.0, May 4th of 2021, to make the auras of both killer and survivor revealed to each other every 30 seconds for 3 seconds, making this perk not really as valuable since the survivors couldn't control when they wanted to see the killer, and they also couldn't use it the entire game. 2-person borrowed time. When the game was newer, there wasn't many anti-tunneling perks. This was one of the first, if not the first, and it was great at launch. It not only gave the unhooked survivor endurance, but it also gave the unhooker endurance as well. But it was only usable once per trial, meaning as long as the person wasn't injured and had it, the killer couldn't get a trade even if they wanted to, and considering multiple people had BT, you didn't really have to worry about running out of it. This was so good in fact that they later changed it to only give the unhooked survivor endurance in patch 1.9.2, which dropped February 15th of 2018. But it came with the trade-off of having unlimited uses. So after they changed it, we saw the meta where one person would run BT and be the unhooker, and bully squads still found a way to use borrowed time really strongly, but it wasn't as broken as it was before. Most people would just rock BT with will make it, and it just became part of people's kits until eventually it became base kit. Silent prayer beads. When prayer beads came out for Spirit, they were really busted, and I mean really busted. They completely got rid of all phase sound emissions while she was hunting.
Maybe another spirit. Let's see. It's definitely real.
This meant you could not hear her at all. This was one of the main reasons people disliked Spirit around the time, and it would be almost used in every Spirit build, considering how amazing it was. However, with things that are too good, come the ban hammer, because in patch 3.4.0, it got reworked, making so every survivor outside her radius heard it, making it more of like a confusion misleading add-on instead of like a no sound add-on. It actually works pretty well too, because most survivors will think, oh, she's coming for me if I'm working on a gen, so I have to stop it. Old Ormond. Just like some of the other map reworks on this list, Ormond is an even older rework. Many people haven't even played the old one, but let me tell you, it was so broken. It had an endless supply of pallets, windows, and connective loops, even more than the other ones. It honestly was one of the best of all time. Almost any dead zone in Ormond now once was a thriving part of the map with fucking 6 loops and 3 pallets, bro. Not even exaggerating, this map was so good. Sadly, we just can't have a game that's super survivor-sided. The killers need a chance, so obviously it had to get reworked to have less loops and to make the balancing better, but looking back, the map looks way different than it did. Hatch standoff. Back in the early days of DBD, the hatch worked very differently than it does now. To start off, the hatch would spawn closed, and when the number of completed gens is equal to the amount of survivors alive plus 1, so basically 4 survivors alive needed 5 gens, 3 needed 4, 2 survivors needed 3, you get it. Then hatch would spawn and one survivor would just need a key and boom, the hatch is open for 10 seconds for all survivors to escape. Oh, and another thing, the killers couldn't even close the hatch either, leading to very frustrating endgames. And what would end up happening is there'd be one survivor left, and the killer would have to camp the hatch and body block it so the survivor couldn't jump in since they couldn't close it. And then the killer was left with 2 of 3 options, and it depends on if the killer had no-ed. If the killer has no-ed, the killer can try to hit you, one-shot you off hatch, and make you fall to the side where they could pick you up. If you were injured, they could try to do the same thing without no-ed. And then if you don't have no-ed and you're full healed, they'd have to wait for you to start jumping into the hatch where then they could grab you mid-animation, kind of like how they can grab you in a vault animation. And it basically just led to killers waiting out survivors for like an hour until the server shut down. There's several clips, you can look it up. It was pretty bad. So DBD ended up making it so killers could close hatch. But when you couldn't close hatch, it was an utter nightmare to have to deal with as a killer. And for a survivor, you just have to deal with a body blocking killer. And if you tried to jump in the hatch, they're probably waiting for you to grab. Moonlight offerings. The moonlight offerings refer to a set of moonlight bouquets that affected how bright the moon was. And I know this doesn't sound all that broken, but let me tell you, killers hated this. Killers weren't as competitive. The average player of Dead by Daylight at this time was still very new, and the scene was not nearly as tryhard. Not only that, but the game was a lot foggier, it was a lot darker, and a lot of the survivors at the time actually did try, and they would use blendette and they would use cosmetics to try to blend in. So when you brought 4 moonlight offerings, it would be impossible to see the survivors. It was horrible. It was eventually removed because of how bad it was. It was just so dark that no killer could see anything. And since they played in first person, it made it even harder to see. One second scalped top knot. Scalped top knot is often considered one of the most OP Oni add-ons ever, allowing a near instant demon dash, allowing Oni to decimate loops with full downs extremely quick. It removed a full second of his charge time, which, keep in mind, his charge is already a short charge, making his dash incredibly quick, making him super busted with this add-on. However, this add-on was nerfed in patch 5.3.0 October 19th of 2021, and now it only reduces his charge by 0.5 seconds, making it less strong. Add-on Tinkerer. Tinkerers has been a perk that has been subject to numerous buffs and nerfs, but I bet you didn't know that the perk was at one point completely reworked due to how broken it was. The old version actually has nothing to do with its current state. It used to work by buffing add-ons that made your charge time quicker, and it would make your charge time 15% more effective. But the perk would affect the add-ons, which is kind of weird. Not many add-ons affected charge time, but you know what add-ons did affect charge time at this time? Hillbilly Instasaw. This made his already almost immediate Instasaw with the right add-ons even better, and it was really only used for this build. It was very controversial. No one would use Tinkerers really, except for Billy. This perk was absolutely useless for any add-on that didn't deal with charge time. It was finally reworked in patch 2.1.0 July 24th of 2018 to the perk that we're more familiar with. Bear Trap Underhook. When DBD was still very new, swivel hooks weren't even a thing. And I know what you might be asking. What's a swivel hook? Well, that's what we take for granted. You know, whenever you unhook a survivor from the side of a hook, that's what a swivel hook is. This meant that you could only unhook a survivor if you were directly in front of them. Keep in mind, during this time there wasn't many killers, one of them being Trapper. So all Trapper would have to do is put one measly trap in front of the survivor and you're fucked. The only thing you could do is break the trap, and if the killer's proxy camping, guess what? Now he knows you're over there. And with add-ons, he could injure you and then just hit you. In patch 1.8.0, October 26th of 2017, they did add swivel hooks, removing Trapper being able to do this. But when he could do this, it was crazy. 2-window killer shack. I know what you're thinking. What? But back in the beta, in the very early days of DBD, the shack actually was even better than it was now and had 2 fucking windows. Dude, 2 windows and a pallet? At the time that there was no bloodlust and you could vault a window as many times as you want without it blocking? Bro, you cannot make this shit up, bro. It was so loopable. It was quickly removed, however, because it was so broken even in the beta. We only have photos and one video of it, but man, if you guys know any more footage of this, let me know, because I was looking. Exhaustion recharge while running. Exhaustion is quite simple now. When you aren't running, it recovers, but back in the early days of DBD, it was actually quite possible to recover while not only running, but crouching actually affected it as well. When you used to run, you would recover at 50% its normal speed, and while you crouched, you recovered at plus 33% speed, making you recover even quicker. However, these were changed not too long after they came out. In patch 1.8.0, October 26th of 2017, they removed the crouch increase. In patch 2.1.0, the 24th of July 2018, they removed running and recovering. Exhaustion perks are one of the best survivor perks you can run, and to be able to recover while running, you would have infinite exhaustion perks. I would not want to see this with Vigil. Last but not least, insta-blind. Insta-blinds were the bane of any killer main. By running a purple flashlight with add-ons that decrease the time to blind, you can make a flashlight an insta-blind. And I know what you're thinking, oh, but by running these, insta-blind add-ons, it made the flashlight die quicker, and I hear you. But think about this. If you only have to use your flashlight for half a second for it to blind, you didn't need any batteries. You would just never run out of charge. It was so broken. They were begging the devs to change it, and they were basically just ignoring them. However, this would all change the day that Matthew Cote got absolutely annihilated. I wonder if he feels like they're doing a good job. And that's the Dead by Daylight balancing Iceberg. If you guys all did enjoy this video, I seriously worked incredibly hard on this. This is my first kind of Iceberg video, so any likes and engagement really helps me out. If you have any ideas for a future DBD Iceberg, you can let me know in the comments. Shout out to everyone who let me use their clips. Go check out their channel. I have the links to every one of the clips I used in the description. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Peace!